I'm at the medical tent supervisor. Somebody looking for me.
I mean, yeah. At this point, like a backpack sitting.
Come up on 7 for a message.
I think about college campuses, like, okay, how many backpacks?
Going up.
Everyone's drunk.
Delta 915.
Everyone's drunk and
915 on 1. Yes, sir. Adam Roberts, 221 Mass Ave. We have suspicious black backpack here. Can you have somebody respond? At 221 Mass, you have a suspicious black backpack. You need a response from EOD there. That's correct. Inside the CVS, sir.
Of really what you were looking at, who was there. Like I know you named all the agencies on scene.
Sure. So when it happened, the thing that the image that sticks with me the most is that all the officers, the Boston police officers who line the marathon route, they all have a microphone on their shoulder because it's easy to hit the button or whatever. We all do that. And I remember every single one of them just tilted their head and started listening. And I remember looking around and every single person was doing it, sergeants, officers, lieutenants, everybody. And I remember thinking to myself, this is really weird.
My partner and I, we were not scanning on BCPD's radio. We were only listening to the EMS station. So we didn't know anything was going on until we watched tons of bike cops just going down the marathon route into the city. And it just seemed like all of a sudden the air changed. Even in the crowds around us, all the officers became very tense. You knew something had happened.
And actually, I'm remembering now that there was this paramedic next to me. He was like, oh, it's probably just some stupid gas main, who knows? And I was like, yeah, I had no idea.
I was stationed at the tent while our ambulance was resupplying, and I had a Boston sergeant come over to me and say, I don't know if you guys can spare your ambulance, but there's something that happened at the finish line. If you can send anyone into the city, we could really use your help in there. Just be careful because there might be secondary explosives. So we kind of had the idea that some bomb went off, and if we went in, that would put us in jeopardy, but that we had to act, and we had to figure out what we were going to do in order to have the best response.
That was kind of the moment when I sort of went to Alex and I looked at him and was like, we gotta go, man. Like this is the time. We gotta get 420 down there, and I think that what he realized right away was that we needed to be here at Boston College.
Gus and Alex were really the ones that were part of the conversation about what to do, but we were asked if we were willing to go in if need be and what we were willing to do, because obviously, the will of the team is what really matters, and make sure that everyone's comfortable, being a part of this and being a part of what we were doing.
And it was at that point that I got a phone call from Alex telling me that the bombs had gone off, that they were shutting down the route, but that my partner and I needed to stay on the Brighton side until we cleared out with the pedestrians. And so my partner and I, we instantly went over to one of the cops who was there. We touched base with him, said that we were there for assistance if anyone needed anything. But we also had a lot of parents coming up to us asking if we knew what was going on, them telling us their kids were down there. And we just had to tell them that we couldn't tell them anything. We didn't know more than they knew. And we tried to be very caring and open with them, but at the same time not telling them any of the confidential information that we were hearing over the radio.
Immediately my first reaction was, I hope that everyone is okay. I knew my high school friend, my best friend, her and her whole family was there because her little brother was running. They were at the finish line. They were actually across the street. So I knew that. So my first reaction was just pure terror. I hope that they're all okay. My second reaction was, what can I do to help? Because sitting there watching television, there was nothing I could do.
There's 1,000 people, 300 runners, a bunch of spectators just standing there, no idea what's going on. And at the time, I remember getting everyone together and huddling up. And I just looked around and I was like, I need you guys all to be here. I need you guys to not start texting everyone, not start calling everyone, not start trying to go crazy about what happened. I need you guys to stay composed. We have a job to do. Let's go out there and do it. And we just started doing what needed to be done.
I had the thought of my family and that they'd be worried about me, so I pulled out my phone, sent a text message saying I'm safe, and then put my phone away because I knew I might need it later. And that's the last communication I had with my family until probably 8 p.m. that night, but at least they knew that I was safe. From there, we went, collected ourselves as a group, found out that we weren't going to travel into the city because we had to stay to provide care to the rest of the campus, found out that our church was going to be used as a shelter for all the runners, and we made a plan of how we were actually going to treat the runners, how we were going to track them as they were coming into the tent, and also as they were leaving the tent, so we could give that information to the BAA.
We made our way to St. Ignatius Church after the route closed officially, and all the pedestrians had cleared out of our side. The police sent everyone home as soon as they could. As soon as the last person left, we actually had to jump the barriers to get back to the other side with our bikes because everything had been shut down. And then we ended up as the bike team going between the office and St. Ignatius, bringing over a ton of different materials, items needed, more emergency blankets, whatever we could. And then we just ended up posted. So
It was really important to be in uniform when most of even BCPD had gone to the city at that point to go help. And we were some of the few remaining people on campus besides, a couple of Armstrong EMTs and, maybe a couple of higher up Boston College policemen. So being in uniform, definitely being in the church with all the runners that were there was pretty, it was special being there and being the only ones around to help. And people definitely look to you to help and be kind of that force of, confidence and just comfort to them.
It was that day that sort of came to life when 25 students on this campus who could have been doing anything else that day and doing what most of the other people that are students do, gave up their time to be there for the 400 runners that came into St. Ignatius. That's a pretty amazing thing for 18 to 22-year-olds to do, to take on, to be able to handle. So I just got this enormous pride in our organization and what we're able to do and what our members are able to handle and are willing to handle.
Being an EMT that day, looking back on it, I think it helped my memory of it. I think if I had been a spectator, I really wouldn't have understood what was going on. I wouldn't have understood what the EMTs were doing, what the police officers were doing. And I really think you get a benefit from being in a provider role in that sort of scenario. It allows people who want the chance to be a leader to step up and really show that they can act if the situation calls for it. So I think that was something that was really special to see. But that sort of controlled chaos, that planned MCI, you always want to be part of it. You want to be there in the planning process. You want to be there to help people because that's what you want to do with your life. You want to help people, and that's what I'm happy I was there.
I definitely felt more empowered by being an EMT that day. It's a funny feeling to train for something and prepare for something and then actually put that into practice in an event that everybody else has no idea how to handle. It's hard to say rewarding in the wake of a tragedy because nobody wants this to happen, but at the same time that when it happens, if you're going to be the one that's trained to deal with it, then you really want to be there. So I definitely felt empowered by being in uniform, by being an EMT. The day takes a whole nother idea in my memory. It's not just the day that a tragedy happened, but it's the day that I was able to contribute something, to me, pretty important to the Boston College community.